You look cute. You good?
I think so.
You think you look cute?
I can't like see, so.
You need
Can you
LASIK. Yeah, you always look cute.
You love me like yeah. You love me like no. You love me like oh, oh, oh. You love me like yeah. You love me like no.
Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. It's
Drake
and Bree, and you're watching Worth the Wait. Don't know why I keep doing this deep voice for Worth the Wait.
Worth the wait.
Today we are talking about living together while waiting. This is a topic that people ask us so many questions about, and we have talked about it in the past, but we wanted to do a video that was specifically talking about this topic and also kind of like responding to some of the things that people have said about it.
So I just want to start here. So I guess I'll start with saying I grew up in the church. Both of my parents are ordained elders. My grandmother was the church school superintendent. We were part of the AME Church, which is a very large denomination. I played the drums in church. I've been to every vacation Bible school, church school conference, youth conference, anything you could think of. And on top of that, I went to a Christian school from 3 years old to 8th grade. So I had classes literally that like were Bible classes, like who parted the Red Sea? Moses A, Joseph B. Like I had classes on the Bible. Even now from kindergarten, like Psalms 100, make a joyful noise unto the world, all you lands, serve the Lord with gladness, come forth. Like I had to memorize that in kindergarten. So when it comes to people talking about like the Bible and like their criticism of living together before marriage, like I get it. Like I get where you're coming from. So it's like I see the comments sometimes and I'm like, no, like I feel like some people, are a little off, but I get where they're coming from, especially if you're grew up in like such a traditional church or a traditional way of Christianity and religion. Like I understand that. But I also say that I understand, I actually have read the Bible and do read the Bible and have a good understanding of it. Not saying I have the most understanding, but have a good understanding. And I want to just address 3 things when it comes to living together before marriage, and specifically our situation, because our situation is a tad bit different. So first, when it comes to the Bible, there are things that are clear. Don't kill, don't lie, don't steal. Like those things are in there. When it comes to things that are not directly in the Bible, then that leaves it up to people's interpretation off of what God would say on this particular specific issue. For those who are asking, the Bible does not address living together before marriage. It doesn't even say anything against it. So that is not in the Bible. So what then comes from that is people have their own interpretation from certain verses off of what should and should not happen. So I'll say these 3 things. Number 1, I think people don't give Jesus and God a lot of credit. That they have common sense. And for Bree and I's situation, we're waiting for marriage. However, we do live together, but we're waiting for marriage. The thing that the Bible specifically lays out is sexual sin, sexual immorality, sex before marriage, things like that, which we are not doing. But I'll equate it to this, and you can just let me know your thoughts. So in the Bible, Jesus, we all know that's who Christianity, the whole faith is built on. Jesus in the New Testament, he had religious leaders, so people in the church, trying to kill him or wanted him to be put to death because he was performing miracles on the Sabbath. Now, back in those times, they didn't have the New Testament, so their Bible was the Old Testament. And in the Old Testament, let me see, I think I screenshotted it just so I can read the direct verse. Instructions for the Sabbath. It says, these are the instructions for the Sabbath. You have 6 days each week for your ordinary work, but the 7th day must be the Sabbath day of complete rest, a holy day dedicated to the Lord. Anyone who works on that day must be put to death. You must not even light a fire in any of your homes on the Sabbath. However, Jesus was doing miracles on the Sabbath. But then in the Bible, it says Jesus never committed a sin and lived a perfect life. So if their Bible at the time said working on the Sabbath was a sin, but Jesus was doing things on the Sabbath, but he lived a perfect life, someone's telling me that Jesus and God have some common sense. It's like he's performing miracles on the Sabbath. So although that their Bible at the time said that, we're looking past just this law or this rule and understanding what the bigger point of it is. And is that, you know, good things are being done on this day. And that's one of the biggest arguments that people have with us is like, oh, you live together. Like living together isn't right. And you're doing all, and it's like, we're waiting for marriage. We're promoting like us waiting for marriage. Yes, our journey has us living in the same home, but
it doesn't change the fact that we are waiting.
It doesn't change the fact that we're waiting for marriage. And one of the biggest things that people come at us with is like, you shouldn't do, the Bible says in Romans, Paul says that you shouldn't do things that causes your brother or sister to stumble. But what I feel like a lot of people don't read is the beginning of the verse or the beginning of the chapter and the end of the chapter. So the beginning of the chapter says, accept other believers who are weak in faith and don't argue with them about what they think is right or wrong. Which a lot of people do to, you know. Especially
on this topic.
In our comments. It even said, like, I won't continue to read the whole thing, but I would suggest you read Romans 14. But then in it, it says that, you know, don't do something that causes your brother or sister to stumble. But then it also says you may believe there's nothing wrong with what you are doing, but keep it between yourself and God. Blessed are those who don't feel guilty for doing something they have decided is right. But if you have doubts about whether or not you should eat something, you are sinning if you go ahead and do it. For you are not following your own convictions. If you do anything you believe is not right, you are sinning. So for us, if you read this whole verse, it's really Paul talking about, like, it's not about who cares what day you have church on. Like, if you choose a Wednesday to worship God, like, that's fine. It doesn't have to be on Sunday. But there's so many people who are stuck on rules instead of using common sense. And I feel like that's where Christianity has really failed a lot of people. And you have like kind of two sets of Christians in a sense. But I'll go on to the second point, and which kind of goes in the first point, is that the appearance of sin. So to me, I feel like what we appear to be doing is waiting for marriage. The only way that you can feel that we're not doing that is one of two reasons. Either one, you know us personally, and you know that if we, in the past, we have said things that weren't true, so you have a reason not to believe us, which I don't think most people who watch this channel really know us personally. Or two, you feel you have some type of insecurity within yourself that says, if I was trying to do that, I couldn't do it. So there's no way. So there's no way that they can do it. But the only way that you would know that we live together is if, one, you know us personally. And if you know us personally, you know we're waiting for marriage. And number two, the only way you know we live together is if you watch this channel. And if you watch this channel, you have to know that that we're waiting for marriage.
It's literally worth the wait.
So my question is, what do we appear to be doing? Because the only way you would know we live together is by knowing we are waiting for marriage. So don't know what we appear to be doing.
And then the biggest thing too is one of the main things, and this is why I stayed out of the church for so long, because I felt, you know, that it was very hypocritical. There we go. I felt like there was a lot of hypocrites that at the end of the day, outside of church, are bad people. Like, they don't live a way that represents God. And then you go to church just one day and you think that you're just holy and, you know, the best person that there is. And it's just confusing to me because they don't live and walk by the way of the Bible. And so for people who comment on our things, it's like the number one thing that it says a Christian is that you do not judge. And to have comments that are being said and they're nasty and they're, you know, like very judgmental, it's almost like, you're kind of missing the point of being a Christian if that's where your heart is. And it's just, you know, it's not even like that it's like helpful or healthy criticism. It's like rude comments that at the end of the day, you don't have to watch this channel. Like, we didn't, you know, pull you by your neck and say, hey, you have to subscribe and watch us. If you don't agree with it, you don't have to watch it. And I just want to shout out to all of the Worth the Wait, I don't even know what to call them, because they just had our back. Like, a lot of times we're reading the comments and we always respond to people, and if it's a nasty comment, we just say thank you for your thoughts. But people will respond for us and be like, what? Like, get off of this page if you're saying this and that, like, you're not a Christian. And it's just so funny because there are so many people out there that just have common sense and know that at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how you look at two sins and try to compare and contrast them. Like, a sin is a sin, and humans are humans, and the law is law. And it's just like, wow, it's really mind-opening.
Well, I think it's just
mind-boggling.
For me, I always love hearing Bree's perspective, because for those who, as I said in the first verse, it says, for those who are weak in faith, like, don't sit there and argue with them about what's wrong or what's right. Like, Bree did not grow up in a church, so her perspective from the outside looking in is something that I appreciate. And honestly, I think she sees that I get tired of church folk even more than she does.
Yeah.
Because I grew up in it sometimes. But I feel like, just besides our situation, Christianity, those in the church are kind of failing as a whole. Like, I remember as a kid growing up and having conferences and sleepovers at church, to where I seen gradually as I get older, the church losing youth. Like, the church school conference used to be a three-day thing. Now it's like half a day, because you don't have as many kids and parents involved. And I feel like because the church has been chasing people away. Like, when it comes to Christianity and it comes to the church in particular, like, the church should be more of a hospital and less of a courtroom. I shouldn't be coming, getting diagnosed and pass judgment on me. I'm coming for a place to heal. So it's like, you feel like you have like a heaven or hell to put somebody in, and you're sitting there telling them, like, you know, if you don't do this, this is gonna happen, or you shouldn't be doing that, and that's gonna happen. It's like, who are you to tell somebody, you know, that, you know, that what they're doing is wrong, and that, or who are you to call somebody out on what you feel like is wrong or right, I guess. And
then the funny thing about that is probably most of the people who say anything about our living situation, they're probably not even like waiting for marriage themselves. So it's like, meanwhile, you know, you're out here living your life, and then because we're doing something, you want to point the finger. But it's like, I wish that the tables could be reversed almost, and be like, well, what does your life look like, and how are you walking, and what are you doing to align with God or be a Christian? But so much of what we believe as humans is created within our own opinions, our own interpretations, and our own mind. And even something as simple as like the fact that I don't want a like wedding band when we get married. It's like, God doesn't say that you have to wear a ring to be married, and he says nothing about a woman wearing a band on her finger to symbolize that she's married. That is a human created idea. And it's so funny when I tell people, like, what? No, you have to. And I'm like, says who? Like, marriage is something so much greater than a ring. And it's just little things like that that just make me be like, wow, we're kind of lost. Like, we're lost.
Yeah, as I said with the example, it was the people that were trying to kill Jesus were religious leaders, like people in the church. So it's like, I just don't want to like lose people, because if you truly understand, you know, Christianity and a relationship with God and Jesus Christ, like, it's an amazing thing. But I feel like so many people get chased away by it because they feel like they're aggressively attacked, or they're held up to a certain standard by other people, not by God, but by other people that they can't live up to. So then they don't want to even be around those people, because they feel like in everything that they're doing, they're being watched, they're being judged, they're being talked about. And it's like, we all mess up, we all fall short, we all have issues, we all have problems, and it's not about judging each other, it's about helping each other and understanding where is your place to help each other.
Yeah. Like,
if LeBron could be doing something wrong, but like, if I go and yell at LeBron, he ain't gonna listen to me, that's not gonna be effective. Who am I to tell, like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, certain people are in positions to help criticize and help, but you randomly criticizing somebody you don't know, don't have a relationship with,
does nothing.
You're not going to help them.
Yeah.
That's not going to change them at all.
Yeah.
But Also, one part I want to add to this,
yes.
just okay, is just that also our platform, I've heard some people say like, oh, you know, because we live together and do whatever, like we shouldn't have this platform. But I would say on the largest platform that Christianity has, which is the Bible, God did not choose to write out anybody's flaws or sins. David, who was considered a man after God's own heart, it's in the Bible that he saw a man's wife, liked her,
killed the hubby,
basically got the husband killed so he can be with her. It's like Paul used to stone Christians, like really because you were a Christian, he would kill you. And it's like God didn't choose to write out those sins or write out those wrongs. So to think that the people who here on earth are the ones who are leading or teaching or giving insight on their experiences within Christianity somehow have to be this perfect person that does no wrong in order to be an example for people. It's like, that's absurd, because even the book that Christianity has as its guide and as our main platform of learning and communication with God, everybody's flaws are in that book. So it's like, what if Adam, it didn't talk about Adam and Eve eating the fruit? You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's just all about, it's to show that we are all humans. It's relatability. Like, that's why we don't like on this channel to sugarcoat stuff. That's why we always like to be upfront, because we want you to understand that we are like humans. We make mistakes. Like, if you're an alcoholic and you're trying to better yourself and not be an alcoholic, who are you going to listen to? The person said, you know what, I've had a few drinks. I may have gone to jail a few times. I had a DUI. This is how I overcame it. You're going to listen to that person more than the person's like, I haven't had a drink at all. I've never drunk before. If you do this, you're going to jail. It's like, you won't listen to that person.
Yeah.
It's like, because you just feel like as soon as you may take a drink or sip, or like you're thinking about it, or even talk about like, man, I really want to drink, you feel like you're being judged, you're being looked at like you're less than, so you wouldn't even communicate with that person, and you might do completely opposite of what they say. So that makes sense. Yeah,
that was great. I feel like I didn't have to say much at all. Like, hit it on the head. You better.
But as far as waiting, our tips for waiting.
Oh my God.
While living together. So Bree is very, I would say my biggest thing is just staying busy. Like, well, first, number one is believing the why. I think you have to truly believe in why you're doing that. If you've seen my episodes on discipline versus motivation, or how to stay disciplined, it's aligned with this, and you should definitely go check it out. But when it comes to staying disciplined, if you don't truly believe in why you're doing it, then you're ultimately going to fail. And if you don't identify that, and I've noticed that even in Bree's life with her working out, this is the most committed I ever seen her, because she really wants to get her body right for this destination wedding and for her dress. And it's like, she truly believes in her why. And that's why she's able to commit. So if you don't truly believe in why you're doing it, it's going to be hard to commit to anything, let alone waiting for marriage.
Yeah, and on top of that, it's not you knowing your why, it's you and the person who you are waiting with and living with in this situation, in this scenario. You guys have to be on the same page. So it's like, if you're dating and you're waiting for marriage and you meet somebody and you tell them, oh, I want to wait for marriage, and they say like, oh, like, let me think about that, or like, yikes, that's a lot, or like, how long you trying to wait? Like, does it really have to be marriage? It's very clear that they are not on the same page, and probably are not able and willing to support you through that, because it's just not what they wanted. So if you find somebody who is not on the same page with you, and then throw yourselves into a house together and say like, oh, let's make this work, at some point that person is going to tempt you. And if you don't have that mutual foundation of the why and the same faith and belief and like goals as each other, then it's not going to work out. So people always ask, and I wish that I could say waiting for marriage has been hard for us, but it honestly has not. And the reason why is because we truly, both before we even got together, knew our why. We knew kind of why and how we wanted to wait, and what benefit that would bring to our life and our relationship. And when we made our choices, we surrounded that with God in the middle, and knowing that this is the end goal, having a happy, healthy relationship that is solely based on the love of God, the love for each other, and the relationship that we've built without any sexual or physical foundation. And so if you don't have that person, it's not gonna work anyways. You have to make sure you guys are on the same page. page. Once you're on the same page and you guys decide to move in together, our biggest tip is to set goals. Set boundaries.
Boundaries and stay busy.
Set boundaries and stay busy. And with the boundaries, like, so many people ask me like, oh, I'm moving on my boyfriend and we don't want to have sex, what should we do? And it's like, that's not up for me to answer for you, because I don't know you. I don't know what turns you on or what puts you in the mood, or, you know, what makes you go over the edge. So it's like, for us, we have set things. We do not French kiss. And the reason why is because French kissing normally turns into touching, and touching normally turns into the next thing. And so for us, it's like, imagine us trying to get busy when we can only peck each other. It'd be weird. So it's like, we exited out the thing that we know would get us to that point. We don't get drunk together. Like, we have a drink minimum. If I had a night of like having too many drinks, like, and Dre sees that I'm a little intoxicated or anything, I won't stay home. I'll stay at Mimi's right down the hall, or he'll go somewhere. And because we know that that's not even an issue and it doesn't happen, because again, we have boundaries and we both have the same why. Simple things like, if you're the man in the relationship, and if seeing your spouse naked makes you want to do the thing, then you may not be able to see her naked while you guys are waiting. And for us, it's about what works for us, and for you, it's going to be about what works for you. So you have to talk partner and partner, and you guys will probably have different boundaries that need to be met, and that's okay. Like, if it was up to Dre, we would French kiss, but it's not. It's up to us. And for me, I don't want to French kiss because that's what gets me to that point. And so he has to deal with not French kissing me, because that's supporting me in my weight. And so it takes two to be on the same page, set the boundaries, know your why, and really commit and keep God in the center.
Definitely watch my video on how to stay disciplined, because she's even hitting on points in that too. It's the first thing on how to stay disciplined is knowing and evaluating yourself, because the only way your plan to staying disciplined has to be unique to you, and the only way to do that is by knowing yourself. Because if you're trying to do it like us, it probably won't work, because we're two different people, like from you and whoever you're with. And then identifying your why, and then building in custom fail safes to make sure that, you know, things don't happen. So that's like what Bree said, if somebody, you know, gets a little lit or something like that, maybe giving the person time to settle down, different things like that. So, and the second thing with setting boundaries is, I always say, stay busy. Like, an idle mind is like, that's what can really get you in trouble. But if you're always doing things and staying busy, it's a lot easier, because your mind is on other things. If you're just sitting at home all day, laying in the bed all day, laying, you know, on the couch all day.
That's why our business does so well. We stay busy.
That's all we focus on.
Yes. So thank you guys so much for watching. We hope that this was helpful and can kind of address some of the comments and issues. And make sure you guys follow us on Instagram at Brianna Ponte, at It's Dre Smith, and at Worth the Wait. Make sure to subscribe, and until next time, we love you.
Peace.